Alright, quick update on the markets. Well, actually, I'm not sure this will be quick. I think I'm going to make an in-depth one because we've had a very interesting set of events across the board, but FTSE in particular catches my attention. So this is what I'm saying. When prices came down here last time, they pushed all the way up, not quite making the highest high, the high. Prices have now reached this area, and these same set of buyers have now pushed it back up. I believe they're aiming to, at the very least, reach this high, potentially make this high, and I think also likely make a higher high. I say that because other markets are in the process of doing a similar thing, and I think Wall Street is the one. Yeah, Wall Street has made the higher high. The equivalent was around about here, or maybe even here. Either case, they've pushed up, making a higher high from the most recent, the previous highest point. So I see all markets doing a similar thing. Germany is in a very, let me draw this out. This is what I'm seeing, a reverse head and shoulders, where if Germany is going to go up, I think the equivalent of this length is going to be seen up here. Now I say if because there's a chance that this could come down, but I think more likely is that all of these buyers are just holding prices around this area for a news announcement which will come this coming week. I think it's on a Tuesday or Wednesday for Germany, and that will be the fuel that's needed to propel this upwards. We saw a similar thing in FTSE this week. Instead of a head and shoulders, essentially. Oh, sorry, reverse head and shoulders. We had this, and this was the push up. Let's go into a lower time frame so we can see it better. So the sellers pushed this down, buyers came up, and the sellers were unable to even go down to where these buyers last pushed up, and prices just went all the way up from this point. Now on FTSE, the reason I say this is going up to the 8,000 level, maybe even 850. Look how close these guys were to this point, to this number. They were just shy off of it. And I think, and this was the same buyers who are coming up now. These are the same buyers who came this close to reaching the 8050 level. Now that they're coming up, I think they're gunning for that number again, and I do believe they'll reach it. Now there is no important news in the UK coming this week. I haven't checked the week after, but I expect all of these buyers to continue to go up. I think they're going to go up more or less in one move before we see a pullback happen. Similar thing to when they pushed up last time. They went up in one move before the pullback happened. This time round, they seem to be coming up with even more strength, right? So far, I don't expect anything radical to happen on the lower time frame, because I believe these are the guys on this time frame that are in control of this move. So before any pullback happens, they're going to reach, at the very least, this level, right? They're going to reach this level before any meaningful pullback happens. If they don't, then I'll have to question what's going on. But I'm very confident that they're going to. Like I said, they're gone in for the 8050 level. So time-wise, I think this will happen very quickly. By the end of this coming week, I expect they'll be at this point. The following week, actually, let's count it. Last time they took 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to reach this level. So far, they've it's been 2 weeks. I think there's not going to be much competition from the sellers. The buyers are just going to keep on going, and then I think it will take, let's say, another 2 weeks, right? In another 2 weeks, if they're not at this point, then it'll be a question of, okay, what's going on? Why are they not? Why have they slowed down against these sellers who are not very, very strong compared to this guy? No, compared to this guy that's coming up. So what I want to see is a continuation upwards. And once we reach that point, actually, in fact, before I say that, I want to get onto a second point. But before that, let me also add, if my thinking is correct and this is a reverse head and shoulders that's happening, that will propel this week, it will mean markets are in sync and continuing to go up, along with, which will mean UK reaches that high point as Germany tries to, and both will be aiming to catch up with Wall Street, which is just extreme right now. So that is my thinking on here. We're going to have continual buyers for the next 2 weeks at least. And it'll be interesting to see whether this is the case or not. I'm confident that it will be. So I'll have a video to confirm that. Now, the second thing I wanted to touch on is just an update on reading the legs as more data becomes apparent. What I mean by that is, let's go here. So as this is coming down, we're looking at it and saying, okay, buyers are now taking over, right? And we start to count the buyers making their move. So we say they pushed up, came more or less all the way down, or near so, and then they pushed up again, came down, and pushed up again, came down, pushed up again, right? So we're reading all of this as it happens, and this is true, right? As it happens, it's reading it that way is correct. We then have all of this data, and from a macro point of view, although this push upwards is correct, reading it that way, what's also correct is to say we have two sets of pushes, all of this as one and all of this as two. There is enough time that has gone by to say this first one ended and this second one is now apparent, right? In other words, in order to say this, let me clear this up a bit. In order to say this first move is one move, although you can count the micro moves, in order to say this is one move, we need some sort of pullback. The pullback either needs to come down deep enough for us to say, yep, it's a pullback. More importantly, there has to be enough time that goes by. Now, this pullback didn't come very deep, but it did. A lot of time went by for us to say and see clearly that all of this is one move. Although, as it were happening, we were counting these individual moves as, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and maybe even anticipating that it's fading because this third one is weaker than this second one. See this pullback and count that as 4. Pullback and then a big move, we can count that as 5. True. It's true. What's also true is we have above all of those individual counts is 1 move, 2 moves, and this second one is still in progress because we don't have a pullback yet to confirm where it ends, right? All of this is to say, as more data presents itself, the way we look at price action needs to change. And it needs to change because when there are extremes like this one that shows 2 moves compared to these individual moves, it's always best to go with the bigger extreme. So at the time that these moves were coming up, we're counting all of this, right? But now it's actually better to look at this as one move, all one move. And this is a secondary move. And these individual moves, these smaller moves, although were important, they are now trumped by these bigger extremes. Another way of saying all of this is to say, on a higher time frame, these individual moves don't matter as much. They matter on this time frame because you do see them, but on a higher time frame, all they see is that 2 moves. Let's go into the weekly. 2 moves. Isn't it interesting how perspectives change? And what's also true is that this move, although visible here, is not controlled by this time frame. It's controlled by the higher time frame. And you can continue on and say, actually, on an even higher time frame, all of this is one move. Which doesn't negate from, which doesn't mean it doesn't mean the primary consideration is now incorrect. It's just been overshadowed by a bigger consideration. And it's always best to consider the more extreme moves. So whilst I was looking at this as smaller important moves. I am now looking at all of this as just 2 moves so far, with the second one still in progress. Now, chances are prices, whenever the second one ends, the point where we'll know it's ended will be an SNR, which currently is here. So when this comes down, we can say, okay, this secondary move has indeed ended, and we can compare it with this first move and say, so far the second one is stronger, meaning we're at the very least going to have one more move upwards. And if that is the case, it will correspond with my thinking that FTSE is going to go up to catch up with Wall Street, FTSE and Germany. Because as FTSE and Germany come up with strength, with speed, this will potentially do something like this, where they start to range as the other 2 markets catch up. And then we can say, okay, this is run out of steam. And is on the way down. Eventually, this will come down. When I say eventually, I think by the end of this year, because I'm looking at this, and Germany is very interesting to me as one of the ones that will come down first, because it's already showing signs that it's running out of steam. The buyers are not done yet, but it's evident that there is starting to be a curve, which is a signal that things are going to turn soon. So I'm going to monitor how this comes up and see how strong the buyers are. As time progresses, and then compare that with how strong the sellers are, and look into the curvature of this and say, okay, when are prices likely to turn? When they do turn, this will be a very healthy move, because you'll have something like this. Let me clear all of that and draw this better. You'll have all of this space. That is a lot of points, pips. Coming all the way down to where these buyers made this move, to see if they're going to make a similar move again. So yes, this will be a very good sell when it happens, but all of that is going to take months before it happens. I reckon by the end of the year, and before the end of this year. What's more important first is this opportunity to grab this as a buy, and if it aligns with the news announcement for Germany coming this week, it would indeed be a reverse head and shoulders that's going up, similar to how we've seen prices perform on FTSE. All right, so those are the 2 things I wanted to point out today. I'll leave it there for now. This is very, very insightful the way price extremes can trump previous price extremes. Okay, so I'll leave this there for now. I'll have more videos as and when things crop up. All right, bye for now.